Understanding markets. Nowhere does history indulge in repetitions so often or so uniformly as in Wall Street. It's by Jesse Livermore. About a month ago, I woke up filled with excitement about the upcoming trading day. I had a feeling that a huge breakout was going to be seen in the market, and I want to be sure that I profited from the move. This type of move only occurs 2 or 3 times a month, but the amount of money you can make during these few days can be incredible. Using the techniques that I will teach in this book, I was able to pinpoint the explosive breakout that occurred on this day before the opening print was even recorded. How did I do this? By having a keen understanding of market dynamics and pivot point concepts. Needless to say, the market experienced a major rally on this day, allowing me to capture a healthy 5-figure gain in just one session. The trades I took on this day, like the one shown in figure 1.1, were easily identifiable using the concepts in this book, and I will show you exactly how to find them. However, before an aspiring trader can learn to make money in this game, he or she must first obtain a proper understanding of the market. Too often, novice traders race out of the gate in search of sizzling setups and black box mechanical trading systems without ever understanding fully the role of the marketplace and its buyers and sellers. To have a chance at profiting from the market, you must have a firm understanding of market dynamics. Understanding, after all, is the operative word. As you make your way through this book, you will learn many definitions, concepts, and setups as they pertain to the market. However, your ability to gain the most out of the information will come from the evolution of your learning into true understanding. The ability to understand why the market is behaving the way that it is will allow you to innately anticipate market behavior and pinpoint entries and exits using the tools and techniques in this book. In many cases, to begin to understand the market is to first understand the auction process. So the author here is trying to tell about how we have to first understand the auction process so that we can, you know, gain the information. But most often, new traders they quickly jump into some setups or some uh, trading systems without understanding what is the role of buyers and sellers. And to understand the role of buyers and sellers, we have to understand the auction process. The auction process. The role of the marketplace is to facilitate trade between buyers and sellers. Price will auction higher and lower as it attempts to find an area where trade can be easily facilitated. If price opens too low, it will auction higher to find sellers, and if price is too high, it will auction lower to find buyers. If you put this into easily understood framework, you will come to see that this information makes complete sense. If an original painting by Pablo Picasso were to be auctioned for a starting bid of $10 on the open market, buyers would enter the market en masse because price is too low. Buyers would drive price higher until the last buyer stood alone, essentially ending the auction with the sale, likely for a price in the tens of millions of dollars. However, what would happen if I were to auction off a painting by my 1-year-old daughter with a starting bid of $1 million? Obviously, the starting bid is too high. The price would begin to auction lower in search of buyers. Eventually, price would auction low enough to find a buyer, perhaps her loving grandmother for a mere $10. So the price behavior of price is properly explained by the author here. And here the author is telling that if you have a Pablo Picasso's painting and you start bidding and everybody will jump and you start at the price of $10 and everybody will keep on telling that it's cheap, so they will keep on bidding higher, higher, higher until the last one, he will end the auction with tens of millions of dollars. However, the same thing if he were to auction his daughter's painting, with $1 million, nobody will buy it. And finally, it will end up in $10, and that too, who will buy it is his mother, basically his daughter's grandmother. That too for $10 because that's the max she can afford. So price continually moves higher and lower in search of the best value to both buyers and sellers. Buyers will enter the market when they feel price is below value, while sellers will enter the market when they believe price is overvalued. This will be a consistent theme over the course of the book. It boggles my mind how a novice trader can be a smart shopper in the everyday marketplace but become a completely different person when engaging the stock and futures market. So price basically moves between low and high, and it will keep searching for the best value. So when the price is low, buyers will enter. When the price becomes high, the sellers will enter, and because they will tell that is overvalued. And this is the entire consistent theme. And when a new trader he enters the market, he'll be very smart in the normal marketplace. He will, haggle a lot, he will bargain a lot and all these things. But when he comes to the stocks and futures markets, he behaves completely in a different manner. So meet Novice Joe, who is a fantastic shopper when it comes to food, clothes, and even cars, but throws all of his instincts out of the window when it comes to trading. Joe loves to eat lobster, but he knows that this can be an expensive habit. So he must buy when the price of lobster is below value. He keenly observes the price of lobster regularly and knows that the average price per pound is $10.99. As you can expect, when the price per pound drops to $6.99, he pounces on the offer and buys several pounds. The very next morning, however, Joe engages the stock or futures market in a completely different manner. Instead of waiting on value as he did with the lobster, he hastily pulls the trigger at the most inopportune times, buying when the market is overvalued and selling when the market is undervalued. Essentially, his trading behaviors would translate into his buying lobster at 15.99 per pound, which he would never do. The concept of value is easily understood, but consistently applying it to the market occurs with experience, which can only be obtained through vigorous self-study and practice. So, when it comes to lobsters, he buys low. So, Joe loves eating a lot of lobsters, and he regularly monitors the price of lobster, and he knows that the average price is around 10.99. And but so when the price goes to 6.99, he actually jumps and buys as much as possible. But when he comes and trades, he does something opposite. He doesn't do all these calculations. He quickly jumps and trades at the most inopportune times. And this is like, buying the lobster at 15.99 per pound. And we can understand this concept with the value, but applying it in the market, you have to get experience. Okay. And for that, you have to do a lot of study and practice. Sometimes price needs to probe higher in order to find a compromise between buyers and sellers, while other times price needs to probe lower before finding an agreeable price. Imagine a local cake baker that has just opened her bakery and is currently in the price discovery phase. Jennifer, owner of Just Baked Cakes, is unsure of the market value of her cakes and initially lists her cakes to sell at $20 a piece. The market clearly sees this price as below value, as evidenced by the boom of orders she receives. She sold 100 cakes in her first week and is extremely excited. However, she decides to raise the price to $30 to see how the market will respond. She is delighted to see that her orders remain constant at 100 cakes per week, meaning that buyers still feel that her cakes are a value at the current price. She feels the need to probe even higher in order to maximize her profit potential. Therefore, she raises the price of her cakes to $35 a piece. This time, however, the market responded with fewer orders to buy, as she only received 75 orders. She quickly reinstates the $30 price tag and feels confident that she has reached a fair facilitation of trade between buyer and seller. So we have, sometimes we have to, the price will keep, it has to probe, right? It has to go up and down to find the fair value. Okay, so you have a newly established cake baker, say Jennifer, and she's the owner of Just Bake Cakes, and she doesn't know what is going to be the price which the market will agree for her cakes. So she initially starts at $20, and the market sees as this is clearly below value, so she gets 100 cakes orders, and then she increases to $30. Then also the orders does not change, it's still at 100 cakes, but so she tries raising the cake price to $35. At that time the number of orders reduces from 100 to 75, so she quickly reinstates the $30 price tag and feels that this is the fair price between the buyer and seller. So this example paints a vivid picture of why you will see price rally through resistance only to sell off sharply, or drop through support only to rally with conviction. So sometimes the market must break to rally and a break out to sell off. The market is constantly searching for the best area for trade facilitation and usually needs confirmation at an extreme before it can proceed on its merry way. To understand the auction process further, let's understand its participants, buyers and sellers. So as we saw in this cake example, cake pricing example, and this example paints how, a vivid picture. Like, sometimes what is happening, we have a support, we have a resistance, and sometimes it will break the resistance and break out to sell off. And sometimes it will, price will go to resistance, it will break the resistance, and then finally it will come back sharply, it will sell sharply, right? So it's just like, somebody trying to, she tries to raise the cake from 30 to 35, and then finally she immediately quickly reinstates to 30. So the same thing. Sometimes the market must break to rally. Sometimes, if she keeps going, like, she's started from $20, right? And even after 30 till 25, it was still going. So it broke. Assume 25 is the resistance. 30 also it broke. So 35 also it broke. So till 35 it went. So it rallied from 20 to 35, right? So this is the and break out to sell off. The market is, so it is constantly searching for best area for trade facilitation and usually needs confirmation at an extreme before it can proceed on its merry way. So that is why even when an extreme happens, it needs a confirmation. So that is why we tell wait for a retracement, and then once it gets confirmed, then we can proceed. So to understand the auction process further, let's understand its participants, buyers and sellers. Okay. The types of buyers and sellers. The role of the marketplace is to facilitate trade between buyers and sellers. However, every buyer is not the same, nor is every seller. There are two types of buyers and two types of sellers. The ability to distinguish between these categories will allow you to anticipate upcoming price movement and behavior. That is, understanding whether price is moving due to a responsive reaction on the part of a buyer or seller versus price movement caused by initiative participation goes a long way towards understanding how price will react. So there are two types of buyers and there are two types of sellers. Okay. So we have to understand that the price is moving due to, you know because of responsive action of a buyer or seller, or it is by the initiative participation. So we'll see what is the difference between the responsive reaction and the initiative participation. So your ability to determine whether market participants are influencing price will allow you to judge the conviction and behavior of price movement. A buyer that enters the market when price is below value is considered a responsive buyer. In essence, Novice Joe was a responsive buyer when he waited until the price of lobster dropped to 6.99 per pound before entering the market. Likewise, a responsive seller waits until price is above value before entering the market with sell orders. Responsive buying and selling will typically drive price back towards the mean, sending price towards an area that is considered fair value by the market. Therefore, price movement is short-term oriented and lacks true conviction. An initiative buyer enters the market when price is at or above value. This type of buyer is taking the initiative to push price to a higher area of value. If there was a shortage of lobster in Novice Joe's area and additional lobster would not enter the market for another year, you may see Joe become an initiative buyer. In this case, Joe would aggressively look to buy all the lobster he could find, which would push price to higher level of value. This type of buying would cause other buyers to enter the market en masse, causing price to explode to new heights. Along the same lines, an initiative seller is entering the market when price is at or below value. This seller is taking the initiative to push price to a lower area of value. Initiative participants have greater conviction behind their behaviors, which has a greater influence on price. These type of moves indicate a more confident buyer or seller, which is then reflected in aggressive price movement. So we saw two types of behaviors. One is the responsive and one is the initiative, right? So a responsive buyer is a buyer or a responsive seller. He waits for the price to, in case of responsive buyer, he'll wait for the price to come down. And a responsive seller will wait for the price to reach the max. So a responsive buyer will only buy the lobster when it comes to 6.99. The average is 10, so it came at 7, so he bought it. Similarly, a responsive seller will sell only when the price will go to 15. Okay, but an initiative buyer is on the other hand he's entering the market, okay, when the price is at value or above value. Okay, so he's like when the average price of the mean price of the lobster is $10, so he will enter at that time. Okay, and but what he will do, he will push the price. How? Say for example, if there is a shortage of lobster at that time, he will go and buy all the lobster available he could. Then as a result, what has happened? The demand is increasing. So similarly, everybody else will jump and they all will push the price still higher, right? Because they don't get the lobster, so they keep bidding more and more and more. The same way, if this is as a result, what is happening? Because of the initiative buyers push, the market is reaching newer heights. Now the same thing will happen in case of the opposite direction also. That is when initiative seller enters, when the market is at the price or just below the value, he will start selling more. So he will increase the supply at that price and he will push the price still below. So since there is a, he sells at a price which is, he keeps selling more, the price will keep dropping down, and so he is an initiative seller. So this is the core concepts, and this is why the price moves aggressively. Okay.